Hello, everyone. This is Ernie Humphrey, the CEO of Treasury Webinars. Welcome to our session, Treasury Survey Insights, the 2021 Global Treasury Salary Survey. I have a special, amazing surprise for you. Not listed as my co-speaker is Mike Richards. He is the founder of the Treasury Recruitment Company, and he is the architect of this amazing survey. So I am thrilled to have Mike on board with me. This is one of the most important sessions at the conference, and this survey is much more than the numbers. It really dives into the sentiments of folks, and so it's incredibly insightful. And so, Mike, I'm thrilled to have you on board with me today. So welcome to the session.
Well, it's one of my favorites because I've loved doing the salary survey for many years now, which Neil will explain and we'll go through. I'm passionate about it because it's one of the chief questions I always get asked by people. I said, "Oh, what about my, new jobs? New opportunities. What does my resume look like?" And then the key question is, what should I be paid?
Right.
And what's the market doing? And and everything else. And I just love talking about it.
All right. So this is a little roadmap for our journey today. We're
Yep.
going to give a little survey overview, and I'll run through some overview, and then I'll let Mike really share his insights, why this survey is important, why he started doing it, and things that have changed in the survey, and little focus. And I love the questions. I know you'll love it too. If you haven't taken the survey yet, we have not closed the survey just because we want to get as many responses as possible. We're almost at 450 responses. After this great conference, we're going to get to 1,000. And then we're going to talk about salaries and benefits and some of the questions I really thought were really relevant, office remote working trends. And then we'll talk about employee sentiments, which I like to call employee happiness, which is obviously very important. So just a quick overview before I let Mike dive in. For me, when I was considering, and I've always wanted to work with Mike, and when he offered, I was thrilled. This is an amazing survey. It actually dates all the way back to 2002, right? I think Mike's original vision was to offer a picture of salary ranges and market trends. But for me, since I've started following, it's really expanded more to focus even more on sentiments related to job satisfaction, overall fulfillment. And really, what really is exciting to me is Mike explores the why behind these sentiments. And so what the survey shows and what other research Mike has done shows that it's not just all about the money. Now, the money is important, but in addition to the money not being everything, you have to really consider the total package. And then again, you can still take the survey at https://treasurysalary.com. So Mike, I'll let you step in here and tell us a little bit about your crown jewel.
Well, I'll go back to the beginning of it, the origin. It actually started before I started the Treasury Recruitment Company. Yep. I work for another financial recruitment company. You guys can find this out on my LinkedIn profile. I won't name and shame them, but shame on them. It drove me mad. My ex-boss, who used to walk up to me and said, "Right, Mike, we want to do a survey this year." I was like, "Oh, right, okay, great. We're going to in-depth and stuff like that." No. What's your the most junior treasury analyst on our database? I was like, "Okay, well, it's about this number." And he said, "Okay, what's the most senior?" I went, "Well, this number." "Okay, that's your range. And what do you think is the average?" And I went, "Well, it's about this, roughly." They were just made up numbers, and it drove me mad. And actually, to this day, I still feel passionate about it. And so back when I started, as you say, back in 2002, a long time ago now, a few less grey hairs, I thought, let's start to do it. And I did it, with some of my clients at the time. We did a 150 survey. It was just a little snapshot, little group and everything else. And it grew and grew and grew. And our salary survey a few years ago, we got up as far as sort of 700 people. And then we changed our system and everything else. And I came back to it this time and I thought, we've got to do this. We did a great survey about 2-3 years ago. It was too in-depth. It was too big. It was unwieldy. We've come back, and now this is focusing on the value for you guys out there. So we get your salaries. We do it on a global scale. As Ernie said there, we'll be up over the 500, I reckon. I just love it. It's just so good.
All right. Thank you, sir. And just want to also point out that Mike is giving us the exclusive preview here. Mike and I are going to work together on a survey report, which will be available to you. And also note, anyone that takes the time to fill out the survey, you will get that report as well. So again, we're going to take a high dive here, and I know it's going to happen. You all are going to be so excited. So we are going to kind of whet your appetite a little bit here. And so one of the things that we looked at, obviously, is the demographics have a really good mix here. Kind of the most senior level, I went ahead and combined all these: the group, global treasurer, treasury director, treasury manager, treasury analyst, assistant treasurer, international treasurer, and then treasury consultant. So I just wanted to share this to show that there's a really strong demographic there. So it wasn't really focused in terms of one treasury title. And that's really important to Mike and I. We want to make sure that we're supporting you throughout your career. And so what's really hard, especially at a company that you're at, once you're underpaid, it's almost impossible to get paid what you're worth. And so for those of you that are just not just starting out, but those of you that are treasury analysts, we want to make sure that you're being paid what you want to be paid, especially if you like your company, because as you earn that next job title, we need to make sure that you're paid to your market. And as much as we love our jobs, we all deserve to get paid what we're worth. And so again, just the demographics by countries, continents, whatever those. I'm not a very good. We have Australia. I think that's continent. Mike, I don't know. I think I flunked geography. But just a few of the biggest pieces here. The U.S. And the U.K. I'm kind of happy that go U.S. We overtook the U.K. Well, I'm just teasing Mike. We love it from across the globe. So we love all of our U.K. Folks and all across the world. We appreciate everyone's impact. The more information that we have, the more valuable it's going to be to you and your countries. It's apples to apples, right? And so I think that's why when you look at the passport, there's just so much information. There's so many variables that go in there in terms of location that it's really the high level insights that are going to matter. And so again, just a global survey. I'm looking at this pretty graphic here. I'm getting pretty fancy here. And so I'm sorry, I have to get a little US centric, Mike, because a vast majority of our folks are from the US. Now there's much more information on the UK respondents and all over the world that you'll be able to get in the survey report. And just wanted to show again for our US folks, we have a very good mixture across states. Of course, Illinois, New York, and California usually the highest. Not too much exciting here. Okay. All right, so let's look at that base salary data here. And so again, we need to, it's kind of gives you a good benchmark. One of the things that struck me was the consultant number was so high, but you have to take that with a little bit of grain of salt, just because the consultants, right? You're not getting your insurance taken out and all those good things. So Mike, I'll just ask you to jump in here. In terms of the market conditions, what have you seen in terms of one, base salary, but then overall compensation package?
Well, it'd be nice to actually see, what's the word? One thing I would say, let's just go back a stage about people taking part in the survey, just to explain to them that the people watching this today, you're getting highlights, and that's all you're ever going to get. The only people that get full access to the survey are the participants. So if people like, an HR person wants to know some details, we'll talk to them about some of the highlights. And they say, oh no, I'd like the full survey. You can't have it. The only people that get it are the Treasury professionals that take part in it, because that's our thank you to you for doing it. Now, going back to these base salary figures, these are going to change, and actually it'd be nice to sort of see a bit live, and sort of as another person takes part, the base salary might rise for group treasurers, and then it might drop down a bit, because these are the averages for some of the people. And people have asked me, they said, where have I seen it going? I've seen all of these. It would have been great to have this data. We did it back in 2019. In 2020, we wanted to run the survey. Don't know, there was a minor thing called a pandemic got in the way. So we paused it there. We went, hang on. So now we're getting back. And also the survey we've got now is exactly what we wanted. It's a working survey that actually helps you guys. So, it's got on here the base salary, but that's not all we measure. We measure base salary, we measure compensation, we measure bonus, we measure what other benefits you get. So this, exactly as Ernie's put there, is a bit of a snapshot. These will change and they will grow up and stuff. It'll be interesting to see how these change over time. And just to give you an idea, as Ernie said here, he's giving you a snapshot now. And people said, well, hang on, this will be out of date. And a lot of the surveys, I know there's some big official surveys from some of the associations. Now, they're great surveys, but they sometimes don't give you the granularity. And also, It takes 3 or 4 months for these guys to produce it. That's not the case with us. What will actually happen is that every 3 to 4 months, we will be updating the information. And in actual fact, my dream is to have this live data. We're not there yet, but we will be soon. Sorry, I get passionate about it. Sorry.
No, I love it. Yeah, and I think the other thing that Mike and I will work on, and I'm bringing this up, Mike, because I'm happy to lead this charge. There are some tools out there that let you have drop downs and you can kind of select it, right? So it's apples to apples for some of the key survey results. And so that's all exciting as well. And then just interesting, as Mike mentioned, and this was interesting to me on many levels. One of the things that the survey measures is the type of employee benefits. And so we want to make sure that we're taking into consideration. And one of the things that I don't think this was ever explained enough to me, I used to help HR, and I don't think people understood the value of our healthcare and our 401k match. And I think that's a big thing that we as professionals need to understand. And those of us that have jumped into the consulting world or run our own show, there's a lot of extra cost there, right? If you want to cut that tentacle. So let's make sure we understand that. Interesting, just some things. Gym membership, man, I could use that right now. I put on the COVID, I don't know what, too many pounds. Match pension slash 401k, incredibly important. Health insurance, right? That is so key. Well, here in the US, it's kind of a nightmare. The premiums are going up, even the match. When I was in Treasury a long time ago, our health insurance was free, which was phenomenal. That just doesn't happen anymore. A pretty big number for employee discounts. And I think that's probably a little bit more prevalent across the pond. Flex time, work from home, and we'll talk about that a little later, which is a benefit. And then childcare, which is off the charts, amazing if anyone can get that, because I had 2 children in childcare even many years ago, and it cost more than my mortgage payment, right? And then season ticket loan. Wow, that's kind of amazing. So, Mike, have you seen any growth? I mean, just since the survey started, right? Even 5 years ago, have you seen any of these particular benefits becoming more common?
I think they become more common as you get more senior, which in a way is actually wrong.
Yeah.
If you like, when do you need more childcare? When do you need more help? When do you need, the employee discounts? Well, actually, when you're probably at the beginning part of your career and you have less disposable income. One of the other things that we survey and the survey goes into is about your happiness level. And are you happy with your boss? Are you happy with your company and how they view Treasury and things? And what I've noticed in the past, people have said, and we get the happy and sad bit later, which Ernie will come on to, but it's not just about these benefits. These benefits are key, but a lot of the time you only get them when you're, at the senior management team. Well, actually, they don't necessarily need them so much. So in a way, it's the wrong way round. That childcare, exactly as you said there, and you mentioned about that, in the early years of your career, your kids might be young and everything else. How much are they helping you out with childcare? 1 in 10. It's like, really? Whereas you're getting your health insurance, that's a key benefit. But again, that's one of the things that I think is a little bit backwards in a way. But we'll come back to that as well.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Yeah, that's one of the slices we'll definitely take as we start to go in is we'll get a sense of that as well, the senior levels, and look at those benefits across those different job titles. You mentioned that, just to dovetail off that. When I used to work, again, it was a great company, Franklin Electric. They used to offer stock options to people that were at the manager level, which is unusual in the US. And so some people that were there before me, unfortunately, they were managers, and they stayed in manager positions. And by the time they retired, they were millionaires just from their stock options, because the company had done so well. And so part of that is vesting them in the success of your company in a young level, right? You want to inspire happiness. You want to inspire retention. Give them a piece of the pie, right? When the company does well. So I think that's incredibly important. And for me, if I was a CEO at a bigger company, profit sharing, that would be amazing. And I would take that all the way down to folks. And so I think that's something to consider. So let's talk about work from home policies and trends. This is incredibly important nowadays. And this is like fascinating. And Mike and I both get passionate, but this was like fascinating to me. And I know I'm not easy to impress, and especially it's hard for Mike to impress me, but I was impressed with the questions that Mike came up with. And so there's really three things that we want to dive into, right? And I love how this was couched. So days you're working from home, right? What's your current situation with everything going on in COVID, right? What about the number of days you're asked to work from home? And then what about the number of days you would like to work in the office? And that one really shocked me a little bit. And so days working from home. I was surprised, a little bit surprised. We see 40% of the people are going into it full time, right? And so I was a little surprised by that. And then days asked to work in the office, right? So we got a good sense there. But days you'd like to work in the office, right? Most people do not actually do not want to work from home. Only 14% of the people want to work from home. And so that was a little bit surprising to me. It looks like, the mix, maybe 2 or 3 days in the office is something that people would like to see. Mike, anything stick out to you here?
Well, firstly, I'll give credit to my colleague, actually. I try to sometimes. Craig, my colleague in the office, when we were putting together we started to record some of the results and everything else. And Craig put his hand up and said, Mike, what about the working from home policies and trends? This is obviously a key thing. And for me, it's very strange. 3 years ago, no one asked us. No, this wasn't a question. Oh, what's your flexi term to time? There is none. You come to the office, you go home, that's it. Whereas now it's like one of the first questions on top three: what's the job? How much does it pay? What's the working from home policy? It's so different. That's firstly changed. What I also noticed is that some of the bits here, we're surveying candidates, but in a way, it'd be good to also survey clients, and maybe we'll do that at a later stage. I've talked to some of our US clients. One in particular sticks out to me because prior to pandemic, they were 100% working from home in quite a difficult location to recruit for, and they're a challenge. And then they went, obviously, 0 days in the office, 100% from home. And actually, they measured their productivity. Weirdly enough, their productivity went up, and they were actually finding it was brilliant. But some of the senior management team, they've come back in, they're a little bit older school. That's why I'm not saying who the client is, a bit old school. And they said, oh, what are you going back to? Because this, 100% working from home worked really well for you guys. Oh, no, 100% back in the office. I'm like, what? Like, why? It does, you've just proved. I'm not saying they have to all work. I said, well, is there going to be maybe 1 or 2 days where you can work from home, or at least, and, or 2 or 3, a bit of a mix? No. 100% back in the office. That's, we want everybody. We want FaceTime. I was like, I wanted to say, how stupid are you? I know how stupid they are, and it's a challenge to recruit for them. I mean, Ernie, the other thing about these is, I think it's still changing. Will this question still exist in our survey in 2 years' time? I just don't know. I think it'll be much more of what is usual. That in 2 years' time, there will be working from home. But again, prior to pandemic, if you said, what's your working from home policy? Right. Loads of companies didn't have one. It was like there was nothing written down. Then suddenly dragging, kicking and screaming at 100 miles an hour, like, we've got to have one. What do we do? How do we do this? Set this up. And yes, that's been positive, but then how do we come out of it? And I was talking to actually a client yesterday, who I talked to Ernie about earlier, and I said, there's a new thing going to be coming through. When people are hiring, are they going to have what's going to be called working from home bias? So say you're a senior manager. I personally like coming to the office. Ernie, likes traveling to the office. We've talked about it, and having a work environment and things like that. And I like that. But actually, I've got over the fact that one of my colleagues works 100% from home. She works there. She loves it. Great. But actually, they're talking about having working from home bias training for some of our clients, if you like. And why? Well, because what if you are one of those old school people that wants to always be back in the office, but you've got a younger team, or you've got a team, younger, older, doesn't matter actually. And 1 or 2 of them will say, actually, or you're trying to recruit someone, and one person says, I'll be in the office 5 days a week. One says, I prefer to work remotely. Now, who are you going to choose? Which one? Are you going to have a bias to that? Well, hang on. Are you being anti-remote working? Are you being pro, office working? It's going to be an interesting one to see how it plays out in the next couple of years.